Hello and welcome back to Washington, D.C. for the 35th anniversary Relay for Life kickoff and the Lights of Hope ceremony, which is going on right now behind us, or behind you.
Behind the camera,
That's
actually.
right. So,
yeah.
Laura, what's happening at the Lincoln Memorial right now?
It's really incredible. The speeches that was going on right now up there, they're talking all about the impact that all of these volunteers that have come to the Hill today to talk to their legislators have made, and the impact that still needs to be made. So much has happened, and we talked about some successes that they've had as ambassadors and talking with their legislators and some of the bills that have been passed and the money that's been restored to budgets to fight cancer. Really great successes. And then we also heard from cancer survivors and that there's still such a need out there to keep that fight going.
So while this morning it was the personal one-on-one meetings with legislators, and this is now the public appeal to kind of let them know that. And I heard one person made a quote, and I don't know who it was, but they had made a comment about you can't just fund cancer for 1 year and then celebrate it. You have to continue to fund cancer until we've defeated it. I mean, it's not a 1 year investment.
Exactly, and that's why we're doing this every single year. That's why we're starting a new year right
Absolutely.
now. Absolutely.
So let's quickly recap our day. So that was Lights of Hope. Now let's recap all of the videos.
It's been a great day. So we started early this morning, and we just really wanted to kick off the 2020 season because you can't start too early. It's always when we finish 1 year, we're ready to start again. And we need to get excited about that and realize all the things that we have done in the past we can do again, and yet we have talked a lot about some really exciting new options for people in different ways to be involved and to fundraise.
And I think a lot of what I like about the topics of the day have really been about simplification and efficiency.
Streamlining,
Yeah, it's like, Relay doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be too much work. We say we relay year round, but it doesn't mean that you labor hard year round. I mean, yes, we open relay websites this month, and each relay is on a different timeline, but that was, the very first thing is you sign up.
Get registered.
Yeah, you sign your team up.
And that's easy, especially if they've done it before, because we've made that easier.
That's right.
Go through that fundraising app or through your Relay for Life webpage. And then once you do that, we want to share it and do a Facebook fundraiser through your Relay for Life page.
Step 2.
Step 2. And then
that entire process is probably about 2 minutes on a good internet connection.
Absolutely. Maybe not out here.
Right. But then after that, we talk about luminary bags. Again, a simple, easy way to raise money is luminary bags, which contributes to the event.
Of course, our Relay for Life event wouldn't be as magical as it is and as meaningful without that luminary ceremony, where those luminary bags that are dedicated to cancer survivors and those we've lost and have a name around them. So best way to start your fundraising, get registered, get that Facebook fundraiser, sell some luminary bags.
That's it. And at that point, every person could very well be at $100, $200. You got your Hope Club shirt, you get that YI Relay shirt, and then we have the new stuff. Like you said, it's the new things or the fresh ideas, which, we have Relay USA for people where there's not a Relay USA. We're getting a sign, RIT, ELT is watching.
Hey, RIT, they're having a meeting.
Together.
Wow, that's awesome. They're really getting it started.
That's right, relaying year round. So we call your meeting to order, and we are hereby saying, make sure your first order of business is make sure your website's open.
Yes, open, and then get yourself registered.
That's right.
So we talked about so many different ways. If there isn't a Relay for Life event in your community, you can still join that Relay USA. Have your team do some fundraising and be a part of a virtual event.
Absolutely.
And experience all that Relay has to.
And I think we've been relaying for years, like so long that we take a lot for granted. I think we were kind of surprised at some of the comments today about how people said, I didn't realize it was like $4 billion in research funding, or I didn't realize how many countries Relay was in around the world. And we take it for granted, but I would say to the ELTs that are meeting or watching this, at the end of the day, don't take it for granted that your team captains all know this, especially the new team captains. You have to keep in mind that when somebody joins Relay and decides that they want to fight cancer, there's usually a very personal reason they want to do that. And they also want to know that I'm fundraising for an organization whose mission I believe in. And so to me, it's always important to start with what the American Cancer Society does with the fundraising dollars and be confident about that mission.
Right.
You know, the
We're
research.
so proud of it.
Yeah, no one invests more money in cancer research than the American Cancer Society.
Right.
That is a confidence thing, right?
Really exciting, and everybody needs to know that. And then they also need to know that we invest in Hope Lodges that give cancer patients a place to stay for free should they need to go far from home to get their cancer treatment or life-saving treatment. And that's another place that their money goes. That
Absolutely. You know, it comes down to, we are many relays who all come together to fund the mission of ACS. And you look at your community, and I know every relayer out there wants everybody in their community to relay, but keep in mind, your job isn't to get everybody to relay. Your job is to find the people who want to fight cancer, show them how we do it, and if they agree that that's a smart way to do it, then that's where you join relay.
And who wouldn't agree with that?
I think a cancer survivor for one might, and that's who's been here listening as much.
Yeah.
So we have Ashley
McCauley, who happens to be a global hero of hope. Jeff, I don't even sure you know what that is, but Ashley will tell us. As well as a cancer survivor. So thank you, Ashley, for joining us today. I know you've been busy too. You've been up on that hill, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to be connected with Relay for Life and your story?
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. So it was just after my 22nd birthday that I discovered a lump in my left armpit.
22.
And 22, yeah, just Thanksgiving actually. And I happened to be with my mom in a hotel room, and I showed her, I said, this looks kind of weird. And she said, you know, it's probably nothing, but why not when you get back to campus? I was a senior in college. She said, when you get back to campus, just, you know, go to the health center and have them check it out. And that's exactly what I did. And, you know, one thing led to another, and basically just before Christmas, I went in and they said, Ashley, you have cancer. And at 22, that's not what I was expecting to hear. And they, you know, at the time, I really felt like I was on top of the world. Here I was, a senior in college. I had great grades. I had great friends. I was in a sorority. I had this wonderful boyfriend. You know, you're looking ahead to graduation in your career, and then you get this diagnosis. And my whole world just sort of, you know, everything just fell away. My whole world just kind of came crashing down around me. And the oncologist said, I need you to promise me something. And he said, you got to promise when you go home that you won't go look on the internet.
Oh.
Did you listen?
So
She didn't answer
it was
that
a little
question.
hard, you know, because I joined Facebook in 2004. And here we are, you know, on Facebook Live,
Right.
like 15 years later. And it was a little crazy to ask somebody like me, you know, I'm in that generation where we automatically go to the internet as a resource.
Right.
So I made myself a promise. I said, I have to go look this up. I mean, I barely knew what cancer was. I have to go look this up. So I said, but I'm going to make sure that it looks like a reliable resource.
Okay.
So I did.
Okay.
And I Googled it, and cancer.org popped up. And I clicked on it, and it said the American Cancer Society. And that's when I went, okay, this looks legit. I think I can. And it was a wonderful resource to somebody who's just beginning to navigate this crazy diagnosis and not knowing what's going on. And they literally gave me no information. So it was that spring I was going through, my diagnosis ended up being something called Burkitt's lymphoma, very aggressive kind of lymphoma. Went through really brutal chemotherapy and immunotherapy, and it was a sorority sister who invited me to the campus Relay
You
for
had
Life.
an event on your campus. Excellent.
Yes. And I said no. And she asked again, and I said no. I felt horrible.
So
I had
why?
no
What
energy.
was the? Is it? Yeah.
I mean, I only would go onto campus for my classes. I was staying in classes so I could graduate on time. I really just didn't feel like being out in public. And she came to me and she said, look, we have a team. It's for the American Cancer Society. And that's when I went, okay.
Use
maybe
that
I
information.
remember that, okay. And she said, all we want you to do is come out for the Survivor Lap. There's this lap where all the survivors walk around and we celebrate you. And she said, you're our survivor and we want to celebrate you. And I said, okay.
Oh, such a good friend.
She got you out. I'm glad she pushed.
She did. And I went out, and you know what? It was Relay for Life. You know, it is everything that happens when you walk out there and you see that sense of celebration and the energy and the passion and the determination. Even on a small campus event, you could really feel it. And walking around that track with those other survivors, that was the first time that I really felt that sense of hope. It wasn't in, you know, medical center, in a hospital, something like that. It was out and about, and as I walked the track, I talked with the other survivors, and they said, I'm a year out, I'm 3 years, 5 years.
So even so early in your journey, you found that hope.
I got to really feel that, and that really sustained me through finishing out treatment and finding out that because of these treatments, which I would later learn were funded
by the American Cancer Society.
Part of that $4.8 billion.
Yes, I am here 13 years later.
We are so glad.
And I am so glad. And that wonderful boyfriend I had, we're now married. We have 2 children.
Hooray.
And when we moved to Houston, Texas, I said, I need to find my local Relay for Life. Because I just knew that that was how I was going to be able to give back and carry on this fight for others. Just how much that was going to mean to me. That something this terrible had impacted my life, but was not going to let it win. Right. Even after I had, survived.
So you still needed it all those years later.
Exactly. And you're right, like you talk about the website, and that's another thing we take for granted. The website being there and having the information that it does takes staff, it takes money, that's funding that keeps that website.
And that is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for when you need it. And I'm sure when you needed it was not on doctor's hours when you needed some.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you found support there.
I did, and then coming to Relay and getting involved as a team captain, and then later on joining the event leadership team and finding these new volunteer positions, these ways to have a greater impact on the fight against cancer is what led me eventually to becoming a global hero of hope, as you mentioned before. And basically that's it's my way of taking this to a global scale. Like you said, Relay for Life is in how many partner countries?
We're 30 countries strong
30
right now.
countries around the world. And I studied abroad in Beijing. We had an opportunity to live in Singapore for a few years. We've traveled. And I actually got to go to Relay
So you literally
for Life.
are a global hero.
Yes.
Global,
We got to go to Relay for Life in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And guess what? Cancer affects everybody.
That's right.
And
we may look a little different and sound a little different, but we're all human, and Relay for Life is like the one unifier in that realm, which is just wonderful.
I think that's an amazing story, and I think you're right. Like you sharing that story and having it tie together like it does, it reinforces for the people who have been around, right? It reinvigorates you, it remotivates you, and for the people who are new to understand the value of what we're doing here. I mean, Relay for Life is still the world's largest fundraising movement to fight cancer.
The world's largest.
The world.
And I think it's great that as a survivor, the first time you participated was at the Survivor Lap, and now you took that even further. So there's, for the survivors out there who just come to the event and just participate and walk around the lap and go to the Survivor tent perhaps, there's other things that they can do and get involved in, and it even builds on how meaningful that experience can be.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to think that on a positive note right here, I'm going to let us pick some winners for the rest of the prizes from the earlier streams. Is that right?
Right, we had some random selection. Let me put my light in. Can you see it?
I'll use this light here. So the first, we have 4 of them, and the first one will go to Samantha Bowers from Virginia.
Yay, Samantha.
The next one, Carrie Anderson Weaver from Niagara Falls.
Woo!
Remember Niagara Falls?
I do.
And then Tanya Perkins from Maine.
All right, Maine.
And Marilyn Osgood Fuller from New York.
Excellent.
So I apologize
We're so
for my
glad that
posture,
you guys took the time to put some comments in our feeds there today, because we know if you were there commenting, you were getting some great information.
Yes.
So that's what's important.
Well, that's the beauty of it, is that it's an interactive experience. It's a community that we're building, rebuilding or building in the new ways. Like you said, Facebook Live. It's a way for all of the Relay universe, Relay Nation to come together.
Yeah.
Which leads us to, as we kind of close out for the day, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the convo going online, so you can continue our cliff notes on the bottom there. So you keep talking while we're gonna try to be quiet because our mics are gonna still be hot, but we're gonna walk and try to show you as many of the Luminaria bags, or the Lights of Hope bags, I'm sorry, we apologize we can't show you all of them because there's 40,000 of them.
40,000 faces on those bags. Yeah.
But, and our final call to action is really, I think, to, like the very first, take that first step. Make sure that you sign up for the 2020 Relay for Life in your area or Relay USA. And really...
Yeah, before we take that step, you know what? Let's ask everybody to tell us what one thing that they've heard today that they're going to start with. What one step are they going to take for this 2020 relay season and take action on?
So
is it
all
going
of
to
the
be
things that
registering in Facebook and Facebook, the app, the fundraising app, or is it joining Relay USA? Is it, what is it? Telling a friend.
Right, sharing the stories, sharing your story if you're a survivor, or sharing Ashley's story. Really, I'm going to go tell people your story. Right?
Exactly.
Because I think it's inspirational and it's motivational, and it's okay to share other people's stories if they touched you.
Right.
So
we want to hear that. We want to hear everybody telling us what is the one action they are going to take after hearing our broadcasts and seeing all the videos today.
And that's right. And so keep in mind, at the end of the day, when we look at these bags, and if you see one bag, it's powerful enough in its own. But when you see 40,000 bags together, it's symbolic of so many things. It's also symbolic of the Relay Nation, as I like to call it, which is we have one person, which is a member of one team. And when Gordy Klatt did the first ever, it wasn't even a relay at the time, but they realized that night that this is not a one-person job. This has to be a team effort. When somebody fights cancer, I bet you didn't do it alone. You had a team of doctors, you had a team of support, you had a team around you. With a relay participant, you're a member of a team. The team is a member of a relay community. The relay community is a part of the Relay Nation in the USA, and the Relay USA is a part of the world. And at the end of the day, Relay for Life is humanity's best chance of beating cancer.
Amen.
Amen to that. So we're going to look at these bags and we're going to try to be really quiet while we do so.
de filmene, der på sidst, det var meget.